Hi everyone. Welcome to this session from ECS Fin. For our session today uh, on next gen banking experience, there's a panel of experts here today who would like to share their thoughts. Uh, it's me here, Rajesh Rao. I'm the Vice President of ECS Fin. And of course, ECS Fin has been in payments and transaction processing for the last 2 decades. I'm joined by two gentlemen. I have Olivier, who's the co-founder and CEO from Zen in Dubai, and I have Mush, who's the founder and chairman of Zanus Bank from Puerto Rico. Uh, so, as I welcome all of you to this session, I would definitely like to remind you that there is a chat board uh, as part of this session where you can post your questions, your opinions, your thoughts, and we encourage you to put them there so we could respond to you as part of this session or as we, maybe at the end of the session. All right, and so let's get started on trying to get some insights of what could be the next gen experience in banking as we go. When you say next gen, typically we all have suffered, haven't we, in some form or the other in the last 18 to 20 months because of COVID-19, which kind of disrupted economies, it's disrupting life, it's disrupted businesses. Everything's gone out of the window for some reason or the other because of the pandemic. Hey, anyway, it's a great opportunity. Well, let's look at what's the other side. Is there a new dawn, a new era? And that's where there's a lot of hope as kind of see through this pandemic as we hopefully get closer to the end of it and start preparing to get back to some sort of normal life and kind of reviving businesses, economies, and lives themselves. So one of the key things that kind of comes to my mind is, during these disruptions of COVID-19, observed or kind of surveys suggest that most board of directors kind of forced to accelerate their digital business strategies or their investments into digital acceleration of their transformation programs and creating different customer experiences. What we've learned from the pandemic is, life can be virtual, life can be physically disconnected, and yet we are all living wonderfully well. And to create that experience, there needs to be a certain acceleration to our digital strategies, which most boards recognize. So, in that direction, I want to kind of, you know, provide some pointers, if I may say that, to say what essentially could be the some of the key directions that one should pursue as part of a digital acceleration to the existing digital transformation programs that organizations, enterprises, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies have already been doing. And that's where it comes to the biggest opportunity where a lot of acceleration can be achieved. And that's where the monopoly of the millennials and the Gen Z, as we call them, all right? So these is a huge population, which from 2021 to probably 2025 or 2030 would probably become the larger population on this planet as against what's there today. And this is a generation which enjoys technology, which has grown on technology. And of course, anything digital, anything on a smartphone, anything virtual is something that they love. Anything through an app driven interaction, chatbot. So they're very open to exchanging information in a digital form as against traditionally uh, what the planet has found the mankind to be using banking essentially in the past. So that creates a huge opportunity. And also these millennials or the Gen Z, the ones born after 2000, it has been seen traditionally that they kind of look for services or organizations which offer better digital services, and they tend to hop. So they're not going to be loyal to a single financial institution or a bank unless the digital capabilities of that institution is compelling for them to continue to use. So it's so much more important for all of us to consider and work on this monopoly which is coming, and that's a huge opportunity to capitalize. Having said that, of course, the planet is still unbanked. It's not totally banked. All right. So, as I see from several research, close to about 2 billion people on the planet are still not banked, either with in any form, formally, informally, through cooperative movements, credit societies, banks, lending in any form. So there's a huge opportunity there to accelerate some of the mechanisms of digital transformation to bring in that financial inclusion, especially in some of the emerging markets, third world countries, the larger markets with the more dense population, you call it. So you have a financial inclusion opportunity there to accelerate. And of course, one of the key things we always want to is have a customer, acquire them, and retain them for a long time. Well, today the pandemic has kind of taught us that there are different ways, and if it's going to be more digitally accelerated, digitally driven, faceless delivery of services is so much more important. And also technology drives a lot of the privacy issues. Of course, the security challenges will have to be met, but the customer velocity in terms of acquisition or retention is very important, and that's where faceless delivery of services can be a wonderful pointer for organizations, banks, financial institutions to ponder about and see how they want to do that. And traditionally, corporate businesses, there's always been a lot of corporate business. Traditionally, banks have had large corporate business divisions doing businesses with large corporates, but mostly in batch mode or offline or near online and all kinds of things. But with the digital fabric, with the digital possibilities, 100% STP is no longer just an option, but it's very much something that one should strongly consider, and I advocate that personally as well. Yeah, and all this, of course, when we say digital, it essentially means we are progressing towards a more cashless economy, aren't we? Yeah, so we got to encourage or incentivize usage of digital-based services, or create those services where we can move faster, closer to a more cashless economy, because cash is an expensive commodity to create, maintain, and even destroy for that instance. So cashless economies is the future economies that people are looking at, like cryptos, for instance, is a wonderful way to go about it, right? And then, of course, there are a lot of local regulators in various countries who are coming up with new regulations, whether it's in terms of instant payments, real-time payments, or like the SWIFT's ISO 222 programs, or transformation to that, faster implementation of any new initiative really helps accelerate the whole digital fabric, And last but not the least, there are a lot many more ways of doing banking today. It's no more the traditional brick and mortar banks or the approach to banking. And with the monopoly of the millennials and the Gen Z on the anvil, there are more, interesting ways that banking can progress to a new experience, can create new possibilities, be it in terms of cloud banking, composable banking, banking as a service, or having distributed hyperledgers, or cryptocurrencies is a wonderful way of saying how we can make cashless economy a reality much faster, or blockchains, instant payments. There are several initiatives from Swift in terms of GPI and CBPR plus and things like that. So there's a huge opportunity in the post pandemic for us to accelerate our digital outlook, our digital thinking, to creating a better, more attractive experience for the customers going forward. And with these thoughts, I would leave you to more thoughts to be heard from my co-speaker Olivier, who is running a very successful digital bank, Zend. And Olivier, it's all yours. I would love to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. It's really a pleasure to be here. And yes, you set up the stage very well, right? Opportunity is accelerating, digitalization is accelerating. And what we do here, right, to be able to seize the opportunity, you have a few elements that you need to bring together. And they have to be coming together at the same time in combination, I would say. So the first very important point when you start a digital bank, because we are building a digital bank here for the Middle East, is to start without a legacy. And when we talk about legacy, it's not only about technology legacy, but it's also process legacy, mindset legacy. So you can start with a fresh mind to be able to build something revolutionary is the first point. The second aspect is that when you go digital, you need to be able to integrate with ecosystem. So you need to build a network of very strong partnership. And that gives you a possibility to really be there to help people in their day-to-day life for whatever they need or to achieve their lifetime goals, for example. And in our case, we build a very strong relationship with a partner because we have a very strong shareholder who own real estate, supermarket, shopping mall, a lot of the e-commerce that will allow us to integrate much faster and be able to connect with this ecosystem in a very efficient way. Next, very important when you're a bank is obviously to have a bank license. And you will say in this country, for example, in UAE, you have already 52 banks. Why are we going to get an additional license? It's because, the agenda of the country to transform digitally require, obviously, to have a full native digital bank who is able, again, to connect to ecosystem, talk the same language of the new digital player, or even the traditional player who are already transforming themselves and becoming digital. So we got a full bank license for both retail and corporate bank, which is obviously a big advantage, where we can have two kind of business model, where on the retail side is more about first few years acquiring client and then really start monetizing. On the corporate side, it can be much faster because you have bigger ticket size and you can become profitable faster. So we got a full bank license here, which is quite different from many countries where you have a digital bank license. Here, there is no concept of digital bank license. So we have to apply for a normal bank license, full capability license. Then next ingredient you need is really to have a great team. And when we talk about digital banks, there are two elements. There are two kinds of DNA. One is a DNA of banking, which is about risk management, financial expertise, compliance with regulation, trust, security. All that is, I would say, the DNA of bank. And for this, in some function like compliance, risk, and so on, you need to bring people who have the experience. but you need to make sure they are as well able to adjust. We need to have a very strong area in this domain, because again is why we earn the license to protect the client ultimately. And we have found people like, for example, coming from the head of risk was the head of risk in another bank before, but he has also a master degree in computer science from Berkeley University. So he's able to understand data, to be able to assess the risk, etc. And we needed to bring as well people who have the DNA of digital. The DNA digital is more about a customer centricity, better leverage of analytics, and at the same time use new technology, you know. So we bring people coming from Google to build the digital analytic platform. We got people coming from fintech, very advanced technology, to be able to have all our solution on the cloud, Kubernetes, and so on. So that's a balance we have. So in a team, I would say you have 30% coming from banks, 30% coming from digital, pure digital, and 30% who are hybrid. We were maybe in bank or fintech before, who have a strong knowledge of banking and digital at the same time. The next ingredient and factor we needed to bring is to create a unique experience. And I really believe that creating a brand and making people to love us before they know why is very important. So we work with a friend of mine, with a famous designer. People may know him. His name is Philip Stark. He has been designing thousands of products. He has been working with Steve Jobs, and he has been in the elaboration from day one with me, defining the name, the logo, what we stand for, and how our product should look like. So it's very interesting because we are combining design at a high level and banking. And you will see that you can really make a difference as well on this aspect by coming in a very different way of looking at banking and be able to do things. And the last aspect is obviously when you build something digital, that you have scalability, you can redeploy very quickly, both on your technology side, but at the same time, you can do the same for all your process, customer journey, data flow, architecture, technology map. The idea is to be able to replicate the same kind of solution in either in other countries and eventually under white labeling or potentially under on brand. So all these ingredients are very important. And to be able to materialize this opportunity with all these people, we need to be really focused on our strategy. So Rajesh, if you don't mind, so to leverage on a strategy, we need to really understand where we are making a difference. And we can make a difference by the way we are built. And I very often say we are not a bank, but we are a platform with a banking license. That means that we are built like an ecosystem player, which is able to integrate. We need as well to differentiate ourselves on our product, and we need to think how we can add value compared to other banks. And there we look at ecosystem link financing, meaning that we are going to finance, particularly on corporate side, companies, SME, businesses, because we understand the ecosystems they are in, because we understand better the risk, and we are able to give them a more suitable rate relevant to their business. The third aspect is that we are really going to compete with digital-only delivery. We are not going to go, for example, for the time being in mortgage, because mortgage is very physical in nature. You need to get a lot of operation. Other banks do that very well. So that's, in conclusion, right, the combination of different ingredients and make that I mentioned on the first slide, and be able to focus on the strategies where you will ensure you are going to be able to add value to clients is really what we are focusing on.
Hey, thanks, Olivier, for your wonderful thoughts and insights from what's happening on your end. Now let me welcome Mush from Zenus Bank to give us insights and the perspective of their digital program and their digital thoughts. Hey, Mosh, over to you.
So my name is Mushak Tovmasyan. I'm the founder and chairman of Zenus Bank. And I'd like to play a short video here, a 30-second video before I start. I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be here on stage with my esteemed colleagues from ECS and ZAND. And it's an honor to share the stage with such innovative companies pushing the boundary of fintech and financial services. Okay, so my topic is how to overcome the challenges of digital acceleration. So I will start by telling a bit of a story of how Zenus Bank came to become what we are today. So we started with this idea, this very challenging idea. We wanted to start a new bank, create a brand new bank with a unique business model that allows anyone in the world to become a client. A digital bank that, based in one country that allows anyone in the world to become a client. That is something that had never been done, and it presented a lot of challenges, regulatory, technical, and whatnot. So we assembled a great team of experts from all sectors, from traditional banking, from fintech, from trading industries, from tech, obviously, to come and essentially we had to rethink how banking is done and what is needed and what is not needed within the technology stack of a bank to be able to achieve such a plan. What we did is, I echo the words of Olivier, is that a banking license, most important, is needed because to be able to change or to innovate what powers cross-border banking, we couldn't be, bootstrapped on somebody else. So we couldn't follow the strategy of challenger banks or fintechs, MSBs, who depend on traditional banks to move money around the world. So we set out to get our own banking license, which we have. Afterwards, we were able to convince large players in the ecosystem, such as Visa, for instance, who gave us a principal membership because they recognized how disruptive what we're trying to build can be and how needed such a thing is in the world. Our mission is to become the competitive edge for customers who have cross-border needs. So to be able to do that, we really needed to deliver a product that goes beyond what's available today in the market. And that essentially brought us to the next point, which is strategy. How do we achieve something like that? So we had a few bullet points that our future banking stack needed to achieve. It had to be modular because we needed to be able to pick best of each category vendors and be able to plug and play into this ecosystem to essentially orchestrate the various functions of a bank. It needed to be on the cloud. So we knew from the beginning that we couldn't run this type of a plan on premise. So we went to find vendors who could support us. One of the key vendors is Microsoft, who's incubating us with some of our crazy plans to be able to make our, the big data available to both our employees and our clients when and as needed. The other important vendor we selected is, for instance, NICE Actimize, which is the, fraud anti-money laundering solution for, I believe, 8 out of top 10 banks in the world. For decades and decades, they've been ranked the best player out there. And what we did with them is we spent a couple of years to essentially take their know-how and for the first time ever, put all of that on the cloud and in real time. So what we built is on all channels, real-time fraud and risk management, KYC, AML, transactional risk on wires, ACH, debit card, peer-to-peer, everything, you name it. And obviously, we did all of this because speed to market was important, not only for our launch, but also afterwards, to stay relevant in this space. We live in a world where innovation is happening, every moment around us, and it's coming not only from first world countries, but emerging countries. Now LATAM is a kind of a very hot market for fintech innovation. So we needed to build a technology stack that would allow us to bring new features as quick as possible, as safely as possible. So we chose a vendor, and we spent 2 years building essentially a very sophisticated process automation orchestration platform that would operate the modular nature of our technology. That brings us to the next stage. Our business model is to enable payments, that being the key features that we offer to our clients. So we didn't want to reinvent the wheel and try to build payments features within our banking core. So we selected ECS Fin, which we consider to be a leader in the payment space. They were already ISO 222 certified. They were already on the cloud. They were already plugged into to the various payment rails that we wanted to make available. And in a very short time, I would say in a record time in banking terms, we were able to build what is now Zenus Bank. In my own words, it's a payment powerhouse because we can allow any client from over 180 countries to open an account with us. Once the account is open, they have access to 43 payment currencies instantly. They get on their app, they get the quote, they get the rate, they pre-select if they're comfortable with that, and the payment goes through one of the channels. Through ECS Fin, we're able to connect our, the SWIFT channels. We have domestic correspondent banks. We have international correspondent banks. We're able to facilitate US ACH transactions for foreign customers. And like I said, we're able to facilitate payments in over 43 currencies around the world, most of them using the fast rails. And one of our biggest innovations, being a single core digitally native on the cloud, we're able to facilitate free, instant, unlimited cross-border transactions between the users of Zenus Bank. So that means essentially P2P between anybody in the ecosystem that has an account with Zenus Bank, no matter what country they reside in, no matter what country they're traveling in at the moment of initiating the transaction. And that's what we have today.
All right. So as we come to the end of our session, we'll be more than happy to hear your thoughts. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, there's a chat board which you will have to utilize to put in your comments, suggestions, or any questions. And, me, Olivier, and Moshe would be more than happy to respond to your observations. And if there is, due to lack of time, we will come back to you offline, but certainly we will respond to all your queries. And for all of those who missed this session for different time zone challenges, this is available on the SIBOS On Demand program as part of that. And, we encourage everyone to take an opportunity to go through this session and share your thoughts. Thank you so much again. Have a great time at SIBOS.